All right, so we got one more video that I want to share with you.
Okay.
We're coming back to the theme of heated debate. This time it involves Nikki Haley and Vivek. Watch this.
Governor Haley, you did not raise your hand, meaning that you would support more funding for the Ukraine war. You have said of Governor DeSantis that you didn't appreciate it when he initially called it a territorial dispute. Why?
First of all, the American president needs to have moral clarity. They need to know the difference between right and wrong. They need to know the difference between good and evil. Right. When you look at the situation with Russia and Ukraine, here you have a pro-American country that was invaded by a thug. So when you want to talk about what has been given to Ukraine, less than 3.5% of our defense budget has been given to Ukraine. If you look at the percentages per GDP, 11 of the European countries have given more than the U.S. But what's really important is go back to when China and Russia held hands, shook hands before the Olympics, and named themselves unlimited partners. A win for Russia is a win for China. We have to know that. Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is the front line of defense. Putin has said, once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a pro-American country.
First of all, Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis,
Nikki, I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
You know, I'm not on
but the fact of the matter,
and you know,
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
okay, let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to address each of those right now. This is the false lies of a professional politician. There you have it.
Your watch,
so the reality
is, America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what? The foreign policy experience that you all have shows in the pointless wars we've gotten into. I have to address that. So our relationship with Israel will never be stronger than by the end of my first term. But it's not a client relationship. It is a friendship. And you know what friends do? Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies. I love that they have a national identity and an iron dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles me is, I want to learn from those and apply those to protect our homeland, Nikki.
Israel
that is the
needs
answer.
America. America needs Israel.
Okay, Governor DeSantis, you were mentioned.
Yeah. So this was the part of the debate where, and this wasn't the beginning of it, but this was like kind of in the middle of it, where for a really long time, I think Vivek was kind of freaking it, and he was very skillfully able to like deflect. I think like Pence did a pretty poor job going after him, and Vivek handled that really well. And even the stuff he said when it wasn't in direct confrontation to people early on in the debate, I thought it landed. He was certainly more charismatic than other people there.
Yeah.
But then like the second half of the debate, there was a lot of this going on where I think he lost this exchange. Whatever you think on the substance of it, I think he lost the exchange. And I think the number one reason for that is Nikki Haley is a neocon, no doubt about it. But man, she really believes it. She's really drunk the Kool-Aid, and you could tell she's like passionate in thinking that he's dead wrong.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, after she hits him with all these allegations, he kind of semi-concedes a little bit. So she does the whole, like, you want to stop funding Israel. And he goes, false, which is like, that just feels to be like, of course I do, and I want to give that money to Compton. You know what I mean? Like, you hit him with something like that, which he was doing earlier in the debate, but it's almost like the attacks were so relentless by this point that he started like meeting people halfway. He had that one good line about you're on the board of Raytheon and Lockheed Martin or whatever, which I think was a good line. It wasn't delivered perfectly, but it was still a good line. And then he goes on like responding to the attack. Our relationship with Israel will never be stronger than in my first term, and I'll make sure Iran isn't nuclear armed. And I love Israel's ethno-state. It's phenomenal.
Right. Then he's like, you know what I love about Israel? The apartheid. And
Right,
the,
exactly.
like horrific treatment of Palestinians, basically. Yeah. Okay, so I agree on this exchange. I thought this is his weakest moment. I thought Nikki Haley, this is why I think she'll go up in the polls. This is part of why I think she'll get another look from donors.
He was strong.
Because she handled him better than anyone else did in the whole time.
No doubt.
And she basically had a moment of like, I'm not standing by and putting up with your bullshit anymore. Like, you've been nasty to everyone on the stage. I'm not on those boards. Here's what I think. And again, yeah, she's a neocon, but she's a true believer. It comes off as very forceful. And her views, the Republican base very mixed on Ukraine. Like, if you had to poll, the majority are more with Vivek on Ukraine, but it's mixed. And there's also a healthy dose that don't really know what they think. And they're just looking for whoever like makes the best case in that moment. So I definitely think she won that exchange. I think she bodied him. He tried to come in and she continued to hit him. It worked very well. But in my opinion, it's not like there were like a bunch of exchanges like this for Vivek, which is why we have a difference of opinion. You sort of feel like the whole second half of the debate was like this for him.
In the second half.
I really feel like this particular moment kind of stood out as one of his weaker moments and definitely as Nikki Haley's strongest moment.
Look, the reason why I think in the second half of the debate he kind of flailed and ultimately like got beat down is because for a while he was really hanging in there and responding to every attack in a proficient way. And then like you get the sense that if this was Trump in this exchange, he would have gotten the last word and it would have been like a definitive like Nikki Haley is disgusting. She's a liar. Nobody likes her. She's terrible. She is taking money from the military-industrial complex. Like there would have been something instead of like the half concession. Oh, actually, I love Israel. And instead of like sort of shrinking in the moment, Trump like goes over the top because he's like outraged that anybody would disagree with him.
I mean, Vivek is not Trump.
I know he has, and in a weird way, it's to give him credit. Like he has more human shame. And so it's like, you know, after a while, it's like, okay, I'll half agree and then try to like move on. And it's like, that's not what the big guy does.
Well, Vivek is also, we've seen this already. He's a shapeshifter. I mean, he is like Pete.
Absolutely.
He is like Pete in that he's looking out to see, okay, what is the like energy in the Republican base right now. So he launches his campaign. This is another thing we haven't talked about, like wokeness or anti-wokeness. Didn't come up at all.
Not at all.
In the whole debate when Ron DeSantis and Vivek launched their campaigns as like, I am the anti-wokeness candidate. And he read the room, realized that even the online energy around this has massively dissipated. I'm going to shift. I'm going to talk about other things. He like trotted out this American Revolution versus incrementalism thing. This is like the new thing he's leaning into, Vivek. And so I really think kind of in real time, as he sees that what Nikki is selling, the crowd is really buying and eating up. So that's why in that moment, he's adjusting in real time of like, oh shit, they're actually really on her side in terms of this. I better kind of moderate my stance on Israel and like give them at least something because this is not going well.
Whereas what Trump does is he plows through it. He's like, no, I'm going to change your mind. I'm going to triple down on what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that works because here's the thing. Ultimately, like a lot of this stuff is strength. Do you come across as strong? Do you come across as like a leader?
Right. How many Republican voters are really making up their mind for their presidential candidate based on the like percent of aid we're giving to Israel? It's small.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you just are like the guy who's going to sell your position, whatever the hell your position is, even if it's divisive, even if it gets boozed at the time and you're just standing there and you're unafraid of taking it, then what do you come off as? You come off as strong. You come off as, you're a leader. You're not just like reading off your consultant talking points. You're actually saying what you think. That's why Republican voters still say, oh, this guy tells me the truth more than anyone else, more than my friends and family, more than my religious leaders, because he is willing to say something that feels wildly unpopular in the moment, but ultimately, you know, brings a lot of people around to him, to his point of view on his side of the aisle. So, yeah, Vivek doesn't fully have that quality in him, clearly.
Yeah, that's true. So, anyway, look, that's all we got. You got any final thoughts for everybody on the debate?
Like I said, I would not be surprised if Trump decides to come to the next one.
I hope he does. I hope he does.
Yeah, and I mean, this was interesting to watch some of the Republican conflicts, especially on how they'd handle abortion. That was another interesting exchange.
Yeah, that was a good exchange.
That was another interesting exchange with Mike Pence really fully
He was the most
occupying
extreme by far.
the space of like, I will be the pro-life evangelical candidate. Tim Scott kind of trying to be in the same place, but not doing as an effective or forceful job. Nikki Haley had, I thought, another good moment there. Where
phenomenal on abortion.
She was trying to come off as like, I'm pro-life, but I'm going to be pragmatic about it, and we're not going to go after women and whatever. I thought she handled that well, and it's a difficult issue. And, you know, in that instance, I think being a woman serves her as well. So you saw some of those intra-Republican divides, but obviously it just would be, you know, an even wilder, bigger, more interesting show if Trump was there on the stage.
Yeah, I just want to buttress your point on the Nikki Haley thing regarding abortion, because that was, especially when I watched it back the second time,
yeah,
I think she obliterated everybody. Like, Mike Pence went in there and I'm the fundamentalist Christian, I'm super far right, you know, basically like pro-life from the moment of conception, and we need to make laws at the national level to protect life. We could just start the conversation in 15 weeks, but really he would probably want to ban it from the moment of conception, and he would want to do that federally. And everybody else was trying to split the difference a little bit. You know, like you said, Tim Scott tried to sound like Mike Pence while also saying, you know, well, kind of leave it to the states, but also we could do 15 weeks, but like no earlier than that kind of thing at the federal level. DeSantis tried to do the same, similar thing on abortion.
Was uncomfortable on this
Nikki
one.
Haley was the one who came in super aggressive, super confident, and she said, I'm pro-life, but at a national level, no, this is a state's issue. And she gave all the pragmatic reasons for it. You know, Republicans losing all over the place, and they're losing a lot based on this issue. And we need to make sure we're not talking about locking up women for something like this. And she went through the whole list, and she delivered it in a way where, in my mind, I'm going, this is okay with the base, and it would be great for a general election.
And in the room, she won the audience. So they were behind her.
Absolutely.
And I was, you know, it was this very like moderate sounding, pragmatic.
But strong too.
Yes.
Like,
and
delivered strong.
The room was really kind of with her on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an impressive moment for her.
So, and then, we just come full circle. I think we have an agreement that Vivek's going to go up in the polls.
Yeah.
I guess our disagreement is,
I think DeSantis goes down. You think?
Oh, no. I definitely think DeSantis goes up. Yeah. I think DeSantis goes up. I think Haley goes up. I think Vivek goes up. I think mostly everybody else had mid performances except Asa and Burgum, who.
Yeah, but they can't go any further down.
Well, they're at like 0.2, 0.3, so they'll be a zero. They'll be a zero.
The big one to watch is does Trump's lead come down at all? I think a few points.
I think it will a little bit.
I do too.
Not a lot, but
a
little bit. 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe.
I think Vivek and maybe Nikki eat into his lead by a little bit. But I don't want to like pretend it's a game changer and this is going to completely shift the trajectory or whatever. But you know, they did give Republicans an opportunity to imagine what would it be like if we didn't have Donald Trump.
And it's still very Trumpy, isn't it?
It's still very Trumpy. And listen, I'm not a Republican primary voter, so I can only so much put myself in their shoes because mostly I was just like appalled by everything that I heard on the stage last night. But I think if you are a Republican primary voter, you probably saw somebody up there that you were like, oh, I really like that, but I really thought they did a good job. They nailed that answer or whatever. So, you know, from that perspective, I do think Trump made a mistake.
It was Doug Burgum who hit it out of the park.
The pocket constitution. You can't lose.
Ace
and the Percocets.
Ace Hutchinson's eye hit it out of the park too.
Doug Burgum closed with like something talking about like riding on horseback or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Man. It's so adorable though. They really are stuck in 1989. Like, Burgum's from North Dakota. In North Dakota, they are in 1989 right now.
I mean, Asa Hutchinson and Doug Burgum both came into the studio and sat for interviews on breaking points. We were not easy on them. And so I appreciate that they were willing to do that. Vivek also sat for an interview with us where we, you know, mixed it up on climate change and all kinds of other things. So I wish more candidates would do that because I enjoy that very much, but respect to them for at least being willing to, you know,
like I
engage
said, I'm going hard on them, but they're adorable. Like, they really think like I could win this. And it's like, aw. It's so cute.
They need someone in their lives to tell them that, no, you can't.
They really do.
Like Conor Roy.
They need, like Snoop Dogg said one time, you need a strong black woman in your life.
I don't think either one of those has.
No, they can't.
They definitely don't have a strong black woman in their lives.
They can't do with that. All right, now we said all that, guys. That's our breakdown of the debate. Everybody, if you haven't yet, This is like a special edition of Crystal, Kyle, and Friends where we're doing our debate breakdown. This one is not going to be paywalled. Remember, guys, you can get every single debate we have, every single interview we do, every single full show. You can get it if you sign up on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video of every show, and it gets it to you a day early. Everybody else, it's okay if you don't want to pay the $5. You can still sign up for free on Substack. Then you get the audio podcast version put right to your email box a day later, usually on Saturdays. But this is like a one-time thing for the debate breakdown that, you know, we got rid of the paywall. But please consider supporting the show, because Crystal and I have never had a conversation with any advertisers at all. We don't do any ad reads. There's no corporate nonsense involved over here. It's just her and me doing our thing, and you guys fund it $5 at a time. So please consider supporting if you haven't yet. And having said all that, we'll see you guys soon. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.